Alright, what's going on, everybody? This is my first attempt at my first episode of my podcast. I've gone through several names. I landed on the Water Podcast. It's WATR. We are the Resistance, the Water Podcast. So my name is Scott. I drive a lot, so I have a lot of time to basically try to learn, watch videos all day long, and there's a huge shift happening in the world, and we need to be prepared. Not like doomsday, end times, or apocalypse, which apocalypse just means like the unveiling, the great reveal. There's a lot of despair in the world, and it's unneeded. If you look around at the earth that we live on, they tell you it's scarcity, and that translates to your scarcity mindset. But if you look, it's an abundant world. You plant a seed in the ground, water falls from the sky, and you have possible food to sustain yourself. And every single one of us can do this. And it's simply beautiful, simply amazing. Well, who am I? So, I'm 39. Technically, I guess I've always been what's called a conspiracy theorist, and that all started basically started on 9/11, 2001, the day that will never be forgotten, because they tell us that. But, I was kind of a gothic kid, but I wasn't singled out and always by myself. I've always kind of chose to be a loner, but I always got along very well with anyone. I would sell anything from gum to weed to all my high school friends. But I mostly dressed as goth. I would say I'm part of the class that got trench coats popular, and then that thing happened in '99 with those MK Ultra boys. Interesting story on all that. Dylan, and I can't remember the other guy's name. But so I was a part of the clique in my school that got dressing in all black banned. You couldn't wear Marilyn Manson t-shirts or other bands. So always got along with everybody. And I was in my teen leadership class the morning of 9/11, and I guess the first tower had hit during, first period, and then I started watching all TVs getting rolled out to every single classroom, and it was like just in time for every single student to watch the second tower come down, and it didn't sit right with me. It never did till years later. I thought about it more after I started looking into stuff and doing research and trying to figure out how the world really works, because to me it was kind of obvious that something didn't sit right with me. So coming to find out, that's what's called a PSYOP, and that happened I think in the 70s or 80s, the Challenger. When that happened, those group of kids also had the same trauma-based mind control operations set upon them. If you look into that, like the people that are supposedly died in that, some of them are still alive. Interesting things there. So 9/11 kind of just, I guess that planted the seed in me. And with every great tragedy, it plants seeds in people. COVID, if you notice what happened in COVID, a lot of us woke up. A lot of people woke up. I wouldn't say us, but and then you look into what the word conspiracy theory means, and that was a term created by the CIA during the Warren Commission due to the JFK assassination. So the more you look into stuff, if you just look ground level, like you don't notice anything. Everything seems to be going along fine until the past few years. More people started realizing, hey, this isn't, it's not exactly as they tell me it is. So the more you look at, and this goes with every subject, history, any major event, there's always a shadow that seems to be pulling the strings. And so the more, this is the pendulum, because people go to sleep, people wake up, we get freedom back, people go back to sleep, we lose our freedom, and then a coalition of people have to come together and try to wake up more people, and so we can become a team again and get our freedoms back. So, but the problem is, I feel like we are running out of time, because with the technology, it can be used as a fantastic tool, or it can be used as a great enslavement. Fire is a dangerous master, but it can be used to sustain life. And so this technology is kind of the same. You look at the internet, and it's allowed us to have the knowledge of mankind at our fingertips. But at the same time, it's giving the ability of, governments to control their people. Look at China. Like, they have a very, very closed internet, and that was part of the Google Dragonfly program, so that they would have a censored internet. So, sorry, that was a long rant. So, I drive a lot, so I've been wanting to start a podcast for a long time, just because I felt like I was ready and knowledgeable enough to speak on subjects. I still get nervous talking. This will be my first episode, so I do want to keep doing this, and hopefully I'll get more and more comfortable talking on camera. I've always been able to, talk to people, because I get along with everybody, and so talking's not the problem. But as soon as you put a camera in front of you, when it's not just you and your family playing around with cameras, and you're trying to speak to people, it's a different feeling for sure. So I drive a lot. In between my locations I go to, I got 30 minutes to an hour to speak, and I usually use that time just to watch other people talk. Well, this last week this last year, and then this last, culminated in this last week, and my life shifted dramatically. So I've met the love of my life some years ago, and she was married to an abusive guy, and he tricked her, say he tricked her, and he took Aubrey and didn't let her see her for about 2 years, and I was around, and in order for me to because we were in love, and as soon as they got divorced, we got married, and in order for me to be around the daughter, I had to get on stand and confess my sins to a judge. And so 10 years later, we couldn't stand the situation she was in. She had an evil stepmother that treated her differently, and they made her feel like she was unloved and not a part of the family and not special. And she wanted to be here. Ever since she was 2, but most, like 4 or 5 or 6, it was just the hardest thing to do, to get her to understand that, that's where her home was. This is where her other home is. It's very hard to describe. It's very sad, and it was tragic every time we had to let her go. So fast forward, she turned 12, and it was right before she turned 12. It's last summer. I'm sorry. She was about to turn 13, and now this year she's about to turn 14. So she's getting older, and the way they treated her, she couldn't bear it anymore. And so I spoke to the lawyer I've had for a decade, and we had a case. We won emergency custody. He didn't even show up to that custody hearing. We won emergency custody, and then it progressed from there, and He told her on Christmas Eve he was going to sign his rights away, so that she could live here. And he had like a 2-week vacation set up. He only spent 2 hours with her, and then he left again after telling her that. Very tragic, sad story. And then, so lawyers back and forth, yada yada, and then about 2 weeks ago, we finally get word that he finally signed his rights away, and I would have to sign to do the adoption. Of course, I did that because I've always felt like she's just as much my daughter as my wife and I's daughter, and I was honored to do that. And so 2 days ago, everything had been filed. The judge had approved it. Certified mail is on its way to give me my adoption papers for my daughter, and it's just an incredible feeling. So we're getting to a new point in our life where we can finally start as a family. It should have been like this since the beginning, because she was my daughter, and we never dreamed of treating her any different. And it's just sad stories, horror stories over there. And so we're able to start anew, and maybe power of prayer. It's just been one thing. I'm not saying it was just the power of prayer, or maybe it was the power of prayer is truly incredible, and it absolutely has worked my entire adult life. I would say I wasn't always a Christian. I'm proud to say I'm a Christian. I know there's a creator. I've felt him before. I've had him speak through me. I've heard him speak through other people. And it's just, if you ask for it, he can show himself to you. But you have to be open-minded enough to see when the creator is talking to you. So I would like to start up, do this podcast every day or once a week or whatever. I don't have any plan yet. I just want to talk to the ether for now, and maybe this will get going. I would love to. Some of the people I watch, I would love their setups, so I can pull up research papers and declassified documents, and just because this information's coming out. And 3 years ago, Whitney Webb, she put out the call, said all hands on board, and I didn't know what I was going to get on board with, but so it's been 3 years, and I'm finally answering that call, and there's more and more people that are saying there needs to be thousands more podcasts, and I'm like, hey, why not? I can do that. I can talk. I talk my friends' ears off. I talk my family's ears off, and try to plant seeds. And I think I'm too harsh. I come at them too strong with my, the truth that I know, and like operations this, false flags that, and it's very powerful and very off-putting sometimes, coming at people. Just, did you know this? Do you know this? And it can be too much for people. So eventually I would like to have a little setup and get down to the nitty-gritty and walk people through the stuff that I found out, possibilities that are out there, because this world, it is not what's on the TV. Our history is based upon Hollywood and what they tell you. Even in their movies, they say it's based on a true story, and we take that movie as truth because it's based off of it. But you don't know that these movie companies have deals with, government officials, or, like CIA or FBI or DOJ. They openly work with movie companies to get their, facts straight, story straight. And so it's these movies, they are not, I don't think I've ever seen a movie that's truly based on actual history, because there's always something changed. The director puts his own little spin on it, or artistic rendition of it. So television shows, I mean, most of it's just crap. You look at CSI and like actual forensics, they say, well, that stuff doesn't really work in the real world. And it's interesting that we base everything we know off of what experts, authorities, or anchors, we base everything off of what these people say. And it's strange and confusing. And so I'm hoping to try to help, shed some light on the way the real world works. Politics is just puppets that are out there for you to think that you have choice, when, I mean, factually, like, the two people that are put up for president, they've both been selected to become president, and then you choose between those two, and it's usually not a choice. You, like, Democrats and neocons, like, you're choosing, heads or tails on the same coin. One left or right feather on a same eagle, however you want to describe it. It's just a very interesting world we live into. And, before the technology overlay is placed over the earth, you look at Starlink, I mean, it's going to be like a literal matrix over the earth, full of satellites that are, it's just going to be complete control. It'll become an actual prison planet. That's if you believe it goes around the earth. And everything is not as it seems, and I would like to be a part of this growing movement of truth tellers, truth seekers, truth finders, call us conspiracy theorists. It doesn't affect us anymore. Those words mean nothing, just like racist means nothing. Y'all made a horrible term into meaning nothing. You've turned the word Nazi into meaning nothing. The news media is not your friend. I would say 95, if not 99.9% of everything they say is either a flat out lie, or it's definitely biased. I would say 100% biased, no matter who you get it from. Even these newer mainstream media corporations, they have a bias. I mean, you look at Newsmax, that's obviously going to be right-leaning. And then it's just, everything's just divide and conquer. Split half the country immediately between voting and not voting. Half of the people don't vote at all. Of this half, you got left and right, and maybe a small percent somewhere in the center, which that's growing. I think the latest whatever poll said it was like 20 years ago it was a third, and now 20 years later it is 50% independent, and then 25 and 25 between left and right. So it's obvious. Every calculation I've seen, poll I've seen, like, more and more people are realizing that the left-right paradigm is crumbling or fading, just fading out of existence, because we realize it doesn't matter if we go Democrat or Republican, that we still get the same outcome, it seems. One's just more in the shadows, one's more out in the open. We have a Republican leader, and the country gets locked down due to a virus that killed, in some places, nobody. That was the latest study out of Israel, I believe. No one under the age of 50 died from COVID, period. So they divide and conquer. So there's 50, there's 50. Out of that 50, there's this. And then you have white and black, or Mexican. So you divide that, and now you divide your genders. Everything's divided. And it's just divide and conquer tactics. And if we're fighting each other, white, black, male, female, red, blue, if we're all fighting each other on every single topic, it's going to be impossible for us to come together to realize that we should be going against our controllers. And I would like to be a part of this movement of us coming together to, fight the system, I guess you would say. Fight the man. Doesn't have to be a white man no more. It's just the man, the shadow, whatever you want to call it. And I mean, there's openly Cecil Rhodes back in the early 1900s. He put together a plan of the round tables, and that became the Rhodes Scholars. So, I mean, that's start over. Let's see. Go back to our public education system. That comes from the Prussian army. And then we took that to make really good military people that listen to authorities and don't question anybody. So they saw that and they're like, hey, let's put that in school. So look at John Taylor Gatto. He tells you the 7 principles of what schooling does. It's listen to authority, don't step out of line, be the exact same, scarcity mindset, defeat individuality. I mean, these are amazing tactics if you want to make a slave population. And I don't want that. My kids will not grow up in that. Then you look, so that's the public education system. Then it got taken over by the Rockefellers, and they came up with the Department of Education, and they put their textbooks in, their approved textbooks. They took the Bible out, and they stuck in evolution, and then creationists couldn't even win court battles that said, no, you can't teach that. For one, it's called evolution theory. It's not proven. Everything they put up as evidence gets thrown back because none of it works, or it's impossible. I mean, there's microevolution or adaptation or, small changes, but any other evolution's impossible. And I believe that 100%. Evolution is just eugenics in a scientific way to make us feel we're inferior to the ruling class. And then, take eugenics, you make Planned Parenthood, you get rid of the, imbeciles is what they called them. And then, that gets taken over to Nazi Germany. Hitler's like, hey, I like that. Let's get rid of everybody that's not a certain race, even though I'm not part of that certain race, but I will lead that certain race, whatever. And then you get people that use that horrible event and exaggerate about it. I mean, you look at the numbers, like BBC, or whoever, National Geographic or Smithsonian. They've changed their numbers. There was never 6 million. I'm not saying this. This is just what I've read articles of, and they changed their numbers a lot or whatever. But yeah, so he took eugenics and loved it and started implementing it, and then our Wall Street and the Bushes are funding him while fighting him. And they win either way. Our banksters are evil. They create money out of thin air. And they don't care about us. We are just, and they use money because they make us think money is what rules, runs the world. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's the money, because it doesn't exist. You take $31 trillion in debt. We only have $50 billion in actual cash. You take one billionaire that's worth more than $50 billion. He could literally shut down every single bank in America by trying to withdraw all that cash and have all that cash on him. And then every bank would fail. It takes one billionaire to do that. Forgot my train of thought. Well, let's start that off as my first episode. Like I said, I'm not good at this yet. I hope to do better if anybody sees this. So I drive a lot. Hopefully I'll have more time to do these and get more comfortable. But that's how my mind works. You just saw it. 20 so minutes of me just rambling, trying to explain who I am, and I started talking about eugenics. It always leads to eugenics, right? It's interesting times we live in. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Hard times make weak men, or hard times make strong men make good times make weak men, and the cycle repeats. And there's other ways to say that. The fourth turning, like every 20 years, that's a new generation. Leaders have always understood that. You get a few generations and you can start over. Who's to say we haven't started over, in the last 200 years? And they just erased history because they have the abilities to do that. So I'm a creationist. I'm pretty firm that young Earth creation's more my route, just because trying to prove the Earth is billions of years old is impossible. There's no way we can ever know it. Carbon dating doesn't work. You get whatever other datings, like, they're wildly off, so you can't trust it. It's not scientific. If one part of a bone's like 6 billion years old, but the other part's 4 billion years old, that's science fiction, honestly. If you don't like the billion, use million. There's no way we can tell the Earth is this old, and you say it's 4 billion years old, but you're saying the sun's shrinking and losing gas, or the moon's getting closer and it's at an ellipse. Your math will not work at all. So I don't know what else to tell you. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there. And this is just going in the ether. For all the prayers that I've had for my family to become a whole family and for us to get our daughter, I just want to say thank you to everyone that did pray and that have had us in your thoughts. It's life is truly incredible if you let it be. You create. Don't listen to people that say you're not in control of anything, you're not special. You're more than just a speck of dust, stardust, in an infinite universe. You are created, and you are loved, you are special, you mean something. And if not to a creator, then you mean something to the people around you. You create your world, your attitudes, and the vibration you live off of, the words you use, the thoughts you have, everything. It's like good and bad, or high and low, however you want to look at it. Life can be truly incredible for you if you let it be. And try to get rid of thinking about scarcity mindset. We might be on a finite planet, but our human ingenuity allows us to make an infinite amount of possibilities on Earth. And it's truly incredible. You have a creator. You are loved. And just enjoy life. It's truly beautiful when you stop and look around. Stop watching the TV so much. I mean, it's not real history. Even if you're going for history, most of the time, it's not real history. Some documentaries, they have their own spin on whatever they're trying to tell you. So just, all right, I'll leave it there. I'm rambling again. All right. God loves you. I love you. Thank you for watching.